Hey guys, welcome back to Bits and Bytes Programming. As told earlier in the previous video, we'll be creating and learning stateful widgets in Flutter. Before that, we'll understand what is a stateful widget. Stateful widgets are those which can be altered once they are built and called in a Flutter app. So these states are mutable. Basically, this widget is mutable, means it can change or alter the whole component of the app during the lifetime of the app, depending on the component that is being changed. So in the previous week we had created this layout and we had learned about some basics of widgets, which are basically stateless widgets itself. Today we will be learning about stateful widgets, where we will be trying to create a login screen, a short login screen, and try to print the data that is being taken in the input fields. So let's get started. Before creating the login screen stuff, first, if you remember at the time of creating the Flutter project, we had a default app that's coming up on your screen. We will first try to implement that and learn the basics of this stateful widget and learn how it's getting changed on this floating button click. So let's get started. So first of all, we'll go to the lib folder and create a new Dart file. We'll name it as home. Let me just close this picture and just bring this here. So first of all, we'll be importing material.dart file. And now, instead of typing STL in Android Studio or VS Code, we'll type STF, which will create a stateful widget, and here we'll be naming it as home screen, or you can name it any way. Once it's named, now we'll come to the state of this stateful widget. We'll remove this container and we'll replace it with a scaffold. If you haven't watched the tutorial where we had learned about stateless widgets, please check it out. The links are in the description. Under this scaffold, we'll add the body, and the body will basically be a center. And under this center we will have a child called column, and under this column we will be adding the main axis alignment first, so that they are aligned in the middle. Main axis alignment, center, and now we'll add the children for this column, which will basically be two texts as we had seen it. So the first text will be saying times pressed, and after this we'll add second text, which will be in the next line. We will be saying it as, basically it should be the number of times that we have pressed, right? So first of all, we need to create the function where we are going to increment it on a button click. So what we can do is we will go up here or anywhere inside this, or let's do it at the bottom. Before closing the last bracket, and after closing the last bracket, just type this following function which we will be creating. We will say void counter increment, and we will just add this function up on this text. Before that, we need to initialize a variable here so that we'll get the initial value of it. So basically it will be an integer type. Let us make it private by adding this underscore. We'll just name it as count and initialize it by 0. Add a semicolon, and under this function what we will do, we'll just set as, there's a function called as set state. We'll just add it up here, and under this set state sub function we will be saying the variable name that we had taken, that is count. We'll just say underscore count plus plus. We are just incrementing it to the next one. If you want, you can even increment it to the next two numbers by just adding count plus equals 2 and add a semicolon. So this ends our incremental function. So the thing is left, we need to add this function into the text file here. So to do that, just add this $sign and just call this function, or not the function, the variable name. We're just saying underscore count. So the variable name is added. If you want, you can even add some headings or anything which is shown in their official website. We'll just leave it for here. We'll just close this here, and now we need to add the floating point button. To do that, after this center, just come out and just add this following line by saying floating. You can add any sort of button, but we'll just try to make it look similar. We'll just say floating action button. Under this floating action button, we need to call this function that we created here, that is the counter increment, upon pressing it. So we'll just call onPressed, and under this onPressed we'll just call this function called counter increment. And once called that, we can just add an icon for this button, child icon icons dot add. You can add any icon you want. We'll just keep this interface similar to the default one. If you want, you can change the background of this floating action button or anything. Once this is done, we are done with our main file. That's basically the home interface is done now. The thing left is we need to go to the main.dart file, and we need to call that class, that's the home.dart class. To do that, we'll just remove the whole code here and just import material.dart. As this is the main.dart file, that's the entry point of our app, we need to mention this void main method, and this will basically be run app, and we'll just say my app. And now we need to create that. We'll create a stateless widget itself because we don't want any changes to happen at this point. So we'll just name it as my app, and instead of this container we'll be replacing it with a material app, and this material app will have its home as the class name that we created in our home file, that's basically home screen. So we'll just call it here home screen. It will automatically even import that file. If you see here, you can even add the title for the app. This will basically not be the app bar, but once you click on the recent apps on your mobile, there it will add this title. We'll just say it as first app. You can name it any you want. Once this is done, we'll just save it, and as told earlier, Flutter supports hot reloading and we should be good to go. So if you see here, the app is running now, and if we click on this button, it gets incremented. It's saying 2 here because in the file we had said _count plus equals 2. If you just replace this by _count plus plus, and if we just save it, it will be just incrementing it by the next number. That is, after 2 it will be saying 3, after 3 saying its consecutive numbers. So now if I click on it, it says 3. Now if you have seen in the last video, we had changed the text size. We'll do the same, but because if you see here, it is very small. By default, Flutter text in the body part of a scaffold will be 14. So we'll just say style, and under this style we'll just say text style, and here we'll be saying font size. Font size, let us maybe set it to around 28 and just save it there. This should increase its size, the primary text. Now if we want, we can even like do the same thing for this second text, that is this incrementing number. Else what we can do is just add a comma after that, add the same style, and this time instead of adding text style, we'll be saying theme dot of context dot, we'll be basically adding the text theme dot. If you have seen HTML program, there we have h1, h2, h3. In the similar way, we have here the text style as headline 1, headline 2, headline 3. We'll add maybe headline 4. We'll just save this. This should make this incrementing text look similar to h4 in HTML programming, and see, you have it there. Now this looks dull because there is no app bar here. So what we can do, under this scaffold before body, we can just add an app bar. App bar. We'll add a title. This title a text. You can even add an image if you want, but make sure the height is 56, because by default Flutter app bar title text or the app bar will be basically 56. If you want, you can change it by using the height property. We'll be just add the text here. We'll just say first app again, and I guess this is good to go. We'll just save this, and we'll be having our app bar there. Now if you see closely, we'll have this banner which says debug. So of course, when we are debugging this app, that will be shown, but after building the app, that is not. So what we can do, if it's irritating or if it is like blocking the icons or the actions which is present in the app bar, you can just go to this main.dart file. After this material app, just add this line saying debug show checked mode banner to false, which is a bool value. And once we save this, we will get rid of this banner. And if we just click on this, it's just gonna be incrementing. If you want, as taught in the previous tutorial, you can add, maybe make this body container. Just wrap this widget in this widget column inside a container. Maybe you can add border radius, make it look more attractive. Now it's time to go for the login screen part. As told earlier, we'll just be making a small minimal interface. which will best be adding maybe two text fields and just a small button which says login. So we'll just start with that. So first of all, we'll go to the lib folder and again create a new Dart file saying auth or login, and we'll first of all import again the material.dart file. And we'll create a stateful widget again because we need to get the text from there. So stateful widget is here, and we'll just say it as login UI. And if we come to the state part of this body, we'll just remove this container here, and we'll be returning a material app, or we'll just return a scaffold. And under this scaffold, make sure to put a semicolon there, and under this scaffold we'll be having a body, basically again a center. So under this center widget we will have padding. This padding I had showed in the previous video where we had we wanted some space among all the sides. So we'll just do the same here also. We'll just say padding, and under this we'll say again padding parameter, and under this we will say const, that is constant edge insets, and we will take it for all the sides, and we'll maybe add it to 60 because we want it in the center, and let the text box be very small. And for this we'll add the child as a column because we want it to be in a column that's vertically. So under this column, maybe first of all we'll add the main axis alignment, which will basically be again center itself. We'll add the children for it. First of all, the first one will be basically a text form field. It is also a widget in Flutter which lets us create text fields. And under this text form field we will add the decoration. That's basically we want the hint text to be there, right? So for that we are doing this. For this decoration we'll add input decoration. If you remember, for containers we had added box decoration. For this, as it's an input field, we'll be adding input decorations. And under this input decoration, the first one we'll be adding will be hint text. We just type hint text, and we'll be adding it as email please, or just email ... And this is for the hint text. And if we want, we can even add some alignment for this text form field by just adding this text align and text align center. So that we give the text in the center. So this is first form field. We'll just copy and paste, make the second form field that will basically be for the password. Paste it after the first text form field, and we even copied this, which we don't want. We need to add one more circular bracket. So we have two form fields. We'll just change the text from email to password, just start this, nothing is gonna happen because we haven't called this class in our main.dart file. So what we can do is just go to our main.dart file. Instead of this home screen, we'll be saying login screen. That's the login UI. Add a comma here and just save this file here. So we have two form fields here if we look at it, and now it's time to create the button. In the previous tutorial we had made three types of buttons: outlined, raised and material buttons. Now we'll create a similar one. We'll create a raised button. And under that we will say onPressed method. Under this onPressed we are going to print the values of the login and that's basically of email and password form fields. Or the first one we'll say first of all we need the email, right? So there are two ways that you can add the state for this each form field. One is using a text form, that's a text editing controller, or just using a string. We'll use a text editing controller here. Just say text editing controller. We will name it the first one as email, and we need to equate it to text editing controller. Add a semicolon here. We need to do the same thing for the second form field, that is password. We'll just change this underscore email to underscore password, and we have initialized these two text editing form controllers. Now the thing is we need to set their state under this. So to do that we just need to say controller, and we need to say which controller we want for this field, which is email, the first one. We'll just copy this and paste the same for the second one also. We'll just change this underscore email to underscore password. So once we have both of these, we can just print them off here. We can just say $. In Java we used to add plus, and in Python we used to add comma. In Dart we need to add this $, and the thing which we want here, which is basically email, the first one, email, and we'll just add dot, which we don't have here, and just add a semicolon. The same way we'll just copy it and just even print the value of the password that the user has entered, and this is just a button as of now. We need to add even its child so that there is some text in it. So we can just add child, which can be a text. We'll just say login. Yeah, we'll just save this here. We should be getting a button now here. Have this button. So first of all we'll just open this run here on Android Studio, and we'll add some text into both of these text editing forms. So the first one I can just add maybe Bits Bytes. So first of all we'll add for the email, we'll just maybe add just bits as a text there. If you want, we can just, yeah. And for the password field, we will maybe add bytes programming. And if you just click on this login now, it should be printing the data here. If you just see here in the console, it says bits, which is the first one, and bytes programming, that was the second form field. So this was for the login UI. And if you see for this password here, it is showing us already the password, which users won't like. So to hide it, under this text form field of password, just add this line which says obscure text to true, which will basically hide it from being visible. Just save this. And it will be hiding the text which is there in this password controller here. Yeah, we have it. If you just press on this login, we'll get these two. It says bits and bytes programming. That's it. In the upcoming tutorials, maybe we can just add a backend to our app where we can just collect the user's data like the login info and navigate him after the login, and save his state using stateful widgets, so that once he closes the app and comes back after login, he'll be in his home page rather than going to the login page and logging in again. For now, what we can do is go to the main.dart file, and here we can add a theme that's dark, because most of the programmers like dark themes. We can just say theme data dot dark, so that we have dark UI for our app, and just save it. You can actually make more elaborate this login UI. That's it for this tutorial. Thank you. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and please watch the previous tutorials if you haven't, so that you get a basic idea of Flutter and its widgets. Because if you see in this tutorial, we have made use of those itself. We used scaffold, we have used center, padding, column. The text form fields were the new one, but even you can grasp it, there's nothing. We learned the new one, that is debug showed checkered mode, and we created different files. We even navigated from one screen to other screen. Basically not navigating, you can do the same to just navigate there. We called different classes into our main.dart file, and that's it. Thank you.